Yo, what is going on, everybody? This is Beanie and welcome back to another all-time team series. Today we are going to be doing the Dodgers, and holy shit, I thought that the Giants had an amazing team, but the Dodgers, oh my, they have a really good shot at dethroning the Giants. We're early into this, but I thought the Giants had set a high mark, but we're going to see if the Dodgers can surpass them. They have a very good chance. Their team is extremely good, and I've decided to kind of alter the format of this a little bit. Everything is going to be the same for the first 30 episodes of this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the best team from each division, and they are going to win their division. And then at the end of 30 episodes, we're going to take each division winner. We're going to take the two highest ones and then the rest of the four, and we're going to put them into kind of a tournament type thing. And the reason I'm doing this is because they keep coming out with new cards to update, and I figure at the end of 30 episodes, the 6 teams will maybe have like a few different players that may alter their scores a little bit. So at the end of this, we'll be able to put those 6 teams in, and the best 6 teams out of that will compete in like a playoff type format thing. I don't want to say compete, really. You know, they're just seeing who the best team is. And then we're going to find out who is the best all-time team in MLB The Show 17. With all that said, let's get into it. Let's start. Let's begin. Okay, we're going to start out with starting pitchers, and obviously the Dodgers have one of the best pitchers ever on their team on the live series collection. They have the 99 overall Clayton Kershaw. This is a guy that you have to include. He has amazing per-nines. You know, he doesn't throw super hard or whatever, but he is an amazing pitcher. Great off-speed stuff, all that good. You know, I think he kind of plays down from what he normally, like, what he really is in real life. I think he plays down a little bit from that in this game, but overall he's still a very good pitcher. Then the number 2 guy, I think you got to go with the 97 overall Zach Greinke card. I'm not that big of a fan of this card, but he's still very good. Then you move on, you got the 94 overall Alex Wood, and this is a card that I really like. I think that this is a extremely underrated card that I don't see a lot of people using, but I have faced him a couple of times, and every time I face him, he is very difficult to square up. His sinker is just wicked. And then our number 4 guy, you got to go with the 93 overall Oral Hershiser. This is a guy that was in my rotation for more than half the year. I love this guy. I think he's another guy that's kind of underrated because his sinker is fantastic, and he also has a really good cutter and a good curveball and all that. Very good. And then our 5th guy, you kind of have to go down the list a little bit, but I decided to go with the 82 overall Rich Hill. A couple benefits from this. First of all, he has pretty good per-nines for a silver starter, and he gives you a 3rd lefty in your rotation, and that's very valuable to have 3 lefties. It's going to throw other teams off balance. And, you know, lefties are a lot more valuable this year than they were last year. So I like the idea of having 3 of them in my rotation. So a very good rotation, 4 diamonds and 1 silver. I think that is one of the best rotations. I don't think it quite measures up to the Giants rotation, so I ended up putting their score at a 9.1. Now, moving on to the bullpen, it just keeps getting better and better. The bullpen is just as good as a rotation, basically. You start out, your closer is either going to be this 99 overall Eric Gagne, who is extremely good, or this 97 overall Kenley Jansen card. You really can't go wrong with either one. And honestly, there's a really good argument to throw the 91 Broxton in there as another guy. That's 3 guys that you have 2 setup men and a closer. I mean, your 7, 8, 9 guys are just going to be tremendous. And then, you know, you go down, there aren't any good gold relievers in the Dodgers organization. So you have to go kind of into the silvers at this point, but they're pretty good silvers. You get the 82 overall Sergio Romo. I decided not to pick up the Josh Fields. I'm not a huge fan of that card, so I decided to go with the 81 overall Pedro Baez instead. And that takes up 5 bullpen spots, so you have to figure out how to get a couple lefties in there. Well, fortunately, they do have Adam Liberatore, who is an underrated lefty pitcher. He is very effective, good per nines. He's not dominant or anything like that, but he is very solid. And then I wanted to get another lefty in there. I thought that it was important that I do that. So you're going to have to go down the list a little bit. And it was basically between Grant Dayton and this Luis Avalon. And even though the Grant Dayton has better per nines, I kind of like the Luis Avalon stuff more. And he has that sinker ball. I'm just kind of a bigger fan of this card, so I decided to go with the 74 overall Luis Avalon. Now, there are a lot of really great things about this bullpen. For right-handed pitchers, they are absolutely dominant. They have 3 just guys who could step into a closer role super effectively. The reason I didn't put the 90, I'm not putting duplicates on the team, so that's the reason I didn't use the 97 Eric Gagne in there, but the Broxton, the Gagne, and the Jansen, that's about as good as it gets. The only fault with this bullpen is that they don't have any dominant lefty relievers. If they had like an Andrew Miller on here, I would be tempted to give them a 10.0. But since they don't, I have to penalize them a little bit since they only kind of have average lefty relievers. You kind of have to take a little bit away. So I ended up giving them a 9.0 on the bullpen front. All right, now moving on to the starting lineup. Catcher was it was surprisingly tough to decide because you have this 94 overall Russell Martin, but then you have this 85 overall Yasmani Grandal. And the reason that it's kind of tough to decide is that this Grandal actually hits righties better than the Russell Martin. He has a little bit of pop, but then you go over to this Russell Martin and he demolishes left-handed pitching and he has much better defense. So it was a question of, do I think that the Grandal's power versus righties, because that's basically what it is worth more than everything else that Martin brings to the table? And in the end, I decided that it wasn't. So I decided to go with the 94 overall Russell Martin card. And he's a guy that if you end up having a lefty, that you kind of want to protect in your lineup, you can bat him behind him, and he can kind of serve that purpose. And he's not terrible against righties either. He's just kind of average to below average. But moving on to first base, I think you have to go with this new 94 overall Cody Bellinger card. He is just a phenomenal power hitter. You can bat him 4th, maybe 5th, and he's going to do the job for you. Very, very good card. I did have kind of a debate between whether I wanted to put him in right field and then use this Eric Karros card at first base, but I ended up finding a card at right field that I liked better than this Eric Karros card, so I decided to put Cody Bellinger at first and then maybe use this Eric Karros later on the bench. And then moving on to second base, obviously you have to go with the 99 overall Jackie Robinson. I really love this card. I didn't like it that much last year, but this year, for whatever reason, I don't know, I can't remember if it's like the same card or not, but I really, really like this card this year. He has a lot of speed. He has some power. I'm very close to getting this card, actually, which I'm really, really excited about. But he is one of the best second basemen in the game, in my opinion. So the Dodgers are pretty set there. At third base, you have to go with the 93 overall Hanley Ramirez, and you'll see why, because he's a natural shortstop, but he does have a secondary at third base, and he's going to be the best hitter on this team more than likely. And, the reason that, and that's the reason why I kind of wanted to sacrifice the defense at third base. It is going to kind of suck. He is going to not play amazing defense over there at third, but I think it's more than worth it to get 90 plus everything hitting. And yeah, he's probably going to be like your 3-hole hitter. He is going to be the cornerstone of your lineup. And then at shortstop, I think you have to go with the 90 overall Corey Seager, one of the best hitters in the game when it comes to hitting righties. Everybody loves his swing. He seems to play up all the time. And he's also another left-handed bat, which when it comes to these things, you always want to try to get lineup balance. And I think the Dodgers actually do a really good job of it. They have a very balanced lineup. So that gives us another left-handed bat. Then moving on to the outfield. In left field, this is a card that I don't see a lot of people using. It's the Player Epic Sean Green card. Another guy that's kind of like that Cody Bellinger, except he doesn't hit lefties as well. But he has a lot of power, and he has better vision than the Cody Bellinger too, which is interesting. And I ended up, he's a natural right fielder, but I put him in left field because his defense just kind of, he doesn't have the arm strength for right. So I put him in left, kind of hide that defense and get that big power bat in there. And then obviously in center field, you got to go with a 97 overall Matt Kemp. This guy is just, he's just an absolute monster in every sense of the word. He's phenomenal, has good defense, good speed, one of the best hitters in your lineup. I would probably bat this guy second. I'd probably lead off the Jackie Robinson and then bat this guy second. I think he would work really, really well in a spot like that. So yeah, put the Matt Kemp in center field, and then in right field it got kind of tough. You know, they don't have just a plethora of great outfielders. So, but I kind of looked down, and this guy, this 87 overall Yasiel Puig, is going to play way above his 87 overall for you. First of all, as a hitter, he's very solid. He's probably going to be kind of towards the bottom of your lineup, but he's still a very, very solid hitter with good contact and power. And then defensively in right field, he might not be like the most reliable guy. Like, he might miss a few fly balls. He might be kind of slow getting to a few fly balls, but he has a cannon of an arm. So that's why I decided to put him over the Sean Green in right field, is that arm strength plays a lot better in right field than it would in left. And his speed, he's not a great, you know, base stealer or anything like that, but he has very solid speed. He's not going to hurt you on that front. So that's also a bonus for you to have in your lineup. And then moving on to the bench, I think starting out, you kind of have to start out with this 88 overall Justin Turner. He's a guy who can play anywhere on the infield, and he demolishes right-handed pitching. I love this card. Everybody kind of loves this card. Everybody loves Justin Turner, and everybody says that I look like Justin Turner, which is kind of weird, but I kind of like it. I don't know. It's kind of a meme at this point. I really like the fact that everybody thinks I look like Justin Turner. And then you have to, you know, I always say that you got to have two catchers on your team in an exercise like this. Not in real DD. In real DD, don't carry a second catcher. But in something like this, every team would have a second catcher. So I'm going to put Yasmani Grandal on the bench. And he does provide a solid bat off the bench, too. And then, I really wanted a big bat coming off the bench that I could pinch hit with and do stuff like that. And I think this Eric Karros serves that purpose very, very well. Can hit both sides of the plate. Doesn't have that much power against lefties, but, you know, has good contact and all that. Very solid overall hitter. And then, you know, then it starts to get a little bit thin. Not super thin, but just a little bit. And I thought about putting this Steve Garvey on the bench, but, you know, I was kind of questioning to myself, do I want to put another first baseman? Even though this guy can play left field, I don't know. I was just kind of questioning myself on whether or not I wanted to do that. So I ended up putting this Andre Ethier card on the bench. And then who was my last guy? Oh yeah, my last guy was I wanted kind of a utility player who could hit lefties well. So I decided to go with the 79 overall Logan Forsythe. He can basically play everywhere except catcher and center field and obviously pitcher. And, you know, he can hit both sides okay, but he's better against lefties, and that's kind of what I was looking for. You know, a lot of people may question me not putting Steve Garvey on the bench, but I just wanted a guy who had a little bit more versatility. And even though this Steve Garvey can play left field, and he could platoon with that Sean Green if need be, I don't know, I just kind of like the idea of having Forsythe on the team more. And, you know, the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of questioning myself on that decision. But I'm going to stick with it for the purposes of this exercise. And I gave the offense, the lineup and the bench, I gave them a score of a 9.2. So literally every single facet of the Dodgers game, I scored over a 9. So obviously their score is really good. Their score came out to a 27.3. That is like 5 points better than the Giants. I thought that was going to be impossible to do with the way I was grading this and everything, but they are just so good. There are so few flaws on this team. This is going to be such a difficult team to beat. And I have a feeling that by the end of this exercise, by the end of me doing all 30 teams, this team is probably going to have the best score overall. But the saving grace for some other teams, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's another team out there. I haven't really looked at the other teams, but this team is very, very good. The one thing that could save other teams is if they come out with some new cards before I get to them, and you know, and they can kind of boost their score up and have a chance of dethroning the Dodgers. But right now, the Dodgers are number 1, the Giants are number 2, and the Padres are trailing well behind them at number 3. So that is going to do it for this episode, guys. I will see y'all later. I'm thinking about streaming a little bit later on, so be on the lookout for that. And I will talk to you guys later on. Peace!